Today I'm going to talk about my expat, who was a Turkish guy, a Turkish-Belgian guy, born and raised in Belgium, lived his whole life in Belgium, worked in Belgium. After a while, his family decided, actually parents decided to go back to Turkey. No specific reason, both parents retired, just wanted to go to Turkey, see some family members more, live the rest of their lives with them. So one day they have some financial issues. My expat decides to go to Turkey as well, mm, and to help them out with their financial situation. So, of course, going to Turkey, it's not easy. Worked his whole life here. One of the good things was, though, that he used to work in a garage in Belgium. When he went to Turkey, he also worked in a garage. So it was really easy for me to just compare and ask him questions like, "Oh, how did you experience this?" or "How did you experience this?" And because he worked in garages, it was really fun to compare. So living in Turkey, first of all, he really talked about the people a lot. It seems that Turkish people are very collective people and helping people. They like to help one another. It's really common to walk down the street and be asked, "How can I help you?" if you look confused or if you're lost, or just simply when you're taking a bus, someone can start a conversation with you. So you shouldn't be surprised. He was surprised at first, but later he actually found it really fun. But it seems that not everybody would enjoy it. I think when I put my headphones on, I don't want to be disturbed on public transportation or whatever. So helping is just a normal thing. They're really interactive people, which I already said. So receiving and offering in help in Turkey is really common, and he had to adapt to it. Working in Turkey was a different story, though. It was a whole different experience for him. It seems like the employees were really motivated to always achieve their goals. Maybe not really goals, but complete their tasks for today. It was a really masculine workplace. One reason is that the employees look for the best interest of the company. They just want to keep the boss happy. The boss seems to be very important in Turkey. You can't just not try to do your best. The boss would notice it. That's what he told me, at least. The boss would notice it. He would really come forward and talk to you like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you not working as hard as you can?" So it's really important to always try your best. On the other hand, you would expect that when you work for, when you strive for the best for your company, that you should be also rewarded in a way. But that's not really what happens. Most people that work overtime, and they work overtime a lot, they seem to, he told me that they almost never get paid, that he never got paid, and that he never knew someone that got paid for overtime. So working in Turkey, he really was confused at first, like his first time doing overtime, he expected to earn more money, and it was almost every day overtime. It was almost every day overtime, and they didn't get paid. But one of the things that was interesting is that the people were okay with it. Nobody really complained because it was just so normal to work overtime and don't get paid. Nobody really mentioned it. It was like, okay, today this is my task and I have to finish it until the day is done. And if you work with that mentality. What he later on did, it seemed like your working hours weren't working hours anymore. It's just work is your life. You just go to work and do what you have to do until you're done. Which I find really weird. I don't think I would work overtime for money. One thing that he did mention about the boss was that he was really generous when the team did well, when they strived for the best, when they did overtime, when they did what was expected from them. He would most of the time pay for lunch, go eat with his team, just have some conversation with them, and which I found again weird. I don't think at the places where I worked or anybody, I don't think the boss ever paid for my food, and I wouldn't even want him to pay for my food, to be honest. So in Turkey, it is expected from you to really be motivated and strive for the best for your company, and that's one big thing he really had to adapt to. I mean, he always tried to do his best and strive for the best for the company he was working for, but um, in some way he told me it was different. The vibe was different. Everybody was like, you can work, you can do your best, but then you can like give everything, like just complete like your task for the day. Which seems to also another thing that he mentioned was that a lot of people had burnout after a couple of years, but that didn't happen to him, or he didn't see anybody in his workplace who had that. So moving on, adapting to Turkey. So in general, power is one very important topic. Power distance. The employees expect the bosses to be told what to do, which is totally different from Belgium or where he used to work. It wasn't, the boss wouldn't even interact with him like, do this, do it. No, it was just, you know your job. Someone comes to you, you know what to do. In Turkey, he always had to look at the boss and waited for instructions. And he wasn't used to that, not at all. In the garage that he used to work for, he had his workstation. When a client pulls up, talks to the client, solves the problem himself, doesn't even interact with the boss or see the boss even at all. So with a power distance that big, the employees don't really have anything to say about the task they receive. About the difficulties, you can't just say, yeah, it's too difficult, I can't do it. If you get a task from your boss, it has to be done. And another thing is that the boss seems to have such a superiority that he was seen as the father figure. He was not just the boss, he was just like in a traditional home, not anymore of course, but in a traditional home where the dad always used to put bread on the table, which is again not the case anymore. But in traditional ways, it was like that, and that's how they see kind of the boss. He because of him we can earn money and put food on the table. Put food on the table. So that mentality, I don't know. I don't think it's really good. Here, when we work, we earn money not because of the boss, because we worked hard. That's how I see it. And also, he said kind of the same. Um, Finally, the boss, because he is seen as the father figure, not because he is seen that way, but um, making mistakes was really, like, not making mistakes was really important for the boss, just like father. And when you did make a mistake, it was never really appreciated. You will always be told, like, you can't do that, you have to do it better, which he didn't find nice. Because he made a couple of mistakes when he was working on a car. Makes a little mistake. Um, the boss has to get noticed. He does it, and he gets really angry. Like, you can't make a mistake like that ever again. The clients were right there watching us, and they saw what you did. Our reputation goes down with it. So mistakes is also something that not making mistakes is also really important. So to conclude it, the bosses care a lot more than just being the boss, but they really like the power. They really like having to tell you what to do. The employees are so used to it that nobody really minds it. To summarize everything that I've talked about now, if you ever consider living in Turkey, you should know that there are various adaptations that you have to do. The ones that I talked about, the differences from country to country, of course. But I think doing your research before you go somewhere, doing your research about the culture, for example, how helpful the people were in Turkey. If he researched that, he wouldn't have been surprised. So doing your research is really important before you go to a different country to work. And I want to thank all of you for listening. This was my presentation.